Alright, hello everyone. This video is going to kind of serve like a dual purpose, because it's kind of just like a little channel update, and then it's going to be the beginning of like a new series of videos I'm planning on releasing on the channel that I'm just calling Stories from the Shattered Kingdoms, where it's basically short stories in stories that take place in the fantasy world that I created, known as the Shattered Kingdoms, and that hopefully you all know from the D&D sessions that are posted on this channel. If you aren't familiar with those, I recommend you check them out. At the time of recording this, we have 4 sessions out right now for a grand total of something like 12 hours of content. So, you got 12 hours of fun ahead of you. Anyway, kind of lost my train of thought. But the main thing is I'm starting the series where it's stories from the fantasy world that I have created. Mostly these will focus on background characters unless requested otherwise by like some of the players. I know one of the future stories that we will be exploring is the fall of Dragon's Perch down here in Nolave, where basically Dragon's Perch is the capital of Nolave, and it was overrun by drow who were looking to acquire a fragment of Loth. And if none of that makes sense to you, I recommend you check out the lore sessions that are also on this channel, as me and Madeline kind of go more in depth on it there. Well, it's more of I go into depth on it, and she asks me questions to make sure that everything is clear and to make sure that I didn't like skip over anything, because I mean, I created this world. I know everything that goes on in it, and everything, at least the general knowledge of like what will happen in the future. For example, I know that this map will be expanded in the future. This is just the main continent that the story has taken place on so far, as well as the last campaign that we played that wasn't recorded. I do know that there is also going to, at the very least, be a continent over here past this great ocean to the east. And there's another continent further to the west. The east, minor spoilers, is going to play a part in the campaign further down the line. Like, much further down the line, that's not like major spoilers. I mean, they are hunting for fingers of Captain Dew to find his treasure, which is kind of hinted, or at least it will be hinted at some point, that his treasure is over here in the east, because I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it at least once that it's rumored to be like a continent full of gold kind of situation. And on the west here, it's the continent where Joshua's campaign is taking place. Currently, we are not recording that, and I don't think we will. I think we're keeping that campaign mainly as a campaign just to have for fun. we all have fun playing this D&D and recording it for you all, but I know some of my players have reached out to me saying like, yeah, it is still fun. It's just you feel like the priority is more so on like entertainment for the viewers than actually having fun. And I guess I understand that. I don't really feel too much of a difference. Because, I mean, we also... Well, I'm a player in Joshua's campaign. We also do a Star Wars campaign for fun, and I mean, I don't feel any different for that than I do this, so... Personally, I don't feel a change in, like, what we're supposed to do, but that's just me. Let's see. Anything else I need to... I think this is probably the first time that a actual detailed map has been shown on the channel, so I'm just going to go over some major cities and stuff, and then I'll get started on the intro to the first story of the Shattered Kingdoms that will be released, which is titled The Rise and Fall of Tyrion's Empire, which basically takes place, I think, I know it says during the thing, I think it's like 995 years after the founding of the Empire to 1005 after the founding of the Empire. It's something like that, because it's basically a few years before, I think it's like 5 years or so before Tyrion comes to power, and then it basically goes up to about the time that Tyrion falls, and there's a very little bit of the aftermath in it. So it's mainly, as the title suggests, it's kind of focused on Tyrion and his empire, although I think a good chunk of it is before Tyrion actually becomes emperor, to kind of give this villain from the last campaign that the players are familiar with, but a lot of you probably aren't familiar with, just to give him a little bit of character development, as in the last campaign he didn't really get too much of that, in that he was just kind of there. His whole motivation was to try and reconquer the world by taking all the fragments of Lilith. And why he wants to do that, and why that's even possible, we'll watch the lore videos to get more info on that, because I don't want to spend 10 minutes explaining that here. Okay. Okay. Important towns. So in Barul, the only town that has been named and is fairly important is Van Vliet Point, which is named after the Barulian General Van Vliet. The name's a reference to an actual real-world general. Any comparisons are not a comment on said general and do not represent disclaimer stuff, you know. Anyway, it's here. It's being rebuilt now. Most of it was burned down in the first campaign when General Van Vliet was working with Tyrion to try and start a war between Barul and Tamar to basically take out two of the strongest militaries on the continent out of the fight and weaken both of them significantly. And I want to say he died, but I don't remember if his whole thing was ever resolved. Because the party met him for a little bit in the last campaign. He gave him a mission to find one of the fragments. He tried to recruit, one of the party members to join their whole restoring Tyrion thing. And well, his whole plan didn't really work out. Through the party's efforts, he was denied access to the fragment and wasn't able to really carry out his plans then. He was planning to assassinate the Beryllian royal family. That failed. The sole survivor of that attempt was Prince Tongal, who eventually would go on to marry Guinevere, the princess and future queen of Tamar, which would unite those two kingdoms. Do not mistake Prince Tongal for Prince Tongal III, who will be coming up in the campaign later on, as they are two separate people. And Dongal III is either the grandson or the great grandson of the first Prince Dongal. And the next major town is Dragon's Perch. Basically, this is where the forces of Nulave held out against Tyrion during their war against him, and where the god Bahamut, using most of his power, drove off an imperial army of several thousands. But it cost Bahamut dearly to do that, but it saved the Dragonborn and basically was the first domino that eventually caused the empire to collapse, so to speak. Origin Root is a town in Luminous. It is the kingdom here is not Origin Root Luminous, but Origin Root. That is there's basically myths surrounding that was where all life on the continent originated from. There's a lot of ruins there from ancient civilizations. So it's kind of like a archaeologist haven. It's a lot of little towns there. It was Xander Orion, Lance's character from last campaign, who eventually became a god. He was born there, and it's basically just Origin Root is basically a small town in the middle of Luminous in a kingdom that's mostly filled with the ruins of ancient civilizations, and it's one of the more peaceful kingdoms, as they're more focused on just living a peaceful life and hosting the occasional researcher to research see if they can figure out anything more about the ancient civilizations that used to live there. And further to the north, we have the remains of the Imperial Capital. Now, in the current time frame, it's a bit better than what it was last campaign. Last campaign was literally just ruins. But the new empire, under, I can't remember her name, but it's the daughter of, it's the daughter of Xylon, who was the rightful heir to the empire. Basically, the gods basically dropped a nuke on the Imperial Capital during the war against Tyrion. See the lore video for an explanation. And killed, I think it was, I want to say 1 billion people. It might not have been quite as many, but it was definitely in the millions, if not 1 billion. And it's still being rebuilt 100 years after the last campaign, and several hundred after it was actually destroyed. Because for a while, this whole area was just off limits. That's why it's known as the exclusion zone. This area is basically now the new empire. So the name is kind of out of date, but I feel like they might not have changed that just to remind people, like, hey, this is why we don't try to harness the power of gods. And okay, I think we just have 3 more cities to go through, and then story time. We have Wintergrove, which is the birthplace of Tin, who was one of the main characters from last campaign, who is now the queen of the Confederacy of Independent Cities and Townships, more commonly just referred to as the Confederacy. And Davenport is the head of the criminal organization, just known as the Organization, where Tin worked for a long time. And I believe it is the capital of the Confederacy under her rule. And the last one doesn't really have a name, it's just an old Imperial fort on the Isles of Netheria, which is basically where Tyrion rebuilt his forces to try and reconquer the continent. He didn't get that far. And a lot of his troops ended up defecting to the new empire under Xylon, and then now his daughter. So I'm just going to zoom out so you can have a look at the map here as let's see, is this... Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. You're going to see the script. You're going to see the script, because that's how this works. Okay. The rise and fall of Tyrion's empire. Now, before I get started on this, I should point out that it is written as if it is written by someone from the world, and it's kind of more or less like a journal from someone who claims to have lived through this time and to have unique insight into the life of Tyrion, his motivation, and the motivation of the people who would eventually follow him. And I was wrong earlier in this video when I said it was 995 to 1005. It's 990 to 1010. So the years are off a bit. But just so you kind of understand, it is written as if it was written by someone from the world, which will kind of come across pretty obviously when I start getting through it a bit more. And it does kind of have a postscript to tell you who is writing it. The name may mean stuff later on. It may, not certain, but it may connect to the campaign we are doing now. So it might be worth having a look at this video. Although, I mean, you're already looking at this video. So this video will kind of help you get some more background on stuff from the main campaign. Be great. All right, let's get started. The rise and fall of Tyrion's empire. The story depicts the events roughly from the years 990 to 1010 AF, which represents the after the founding of the empire. While some may condemn me for humanizing the villains of the conflicts that happened during these years, that does not change the truth. The truth that they were men and women just like us, and just like those who followed them to the end. I was one of those people. I felt my actions were in the best interests of not just myself and those close, but also, but also of those close to me, sorry. In future, I will do better about that. While the war would change much of the world, it would also change my life forever. Why read this, you may ask, dear reader? Who could shed more light on this time than someone who was in the great tyrant's court? Someone who fought by his side long before he had earned that title. Someone who earned the title the Great Bear of the East. I feel I have much to offer to anyone who wants to learn more about this apocalyptic time in our history, especially if one wishes to know how good men and women could justify fighting for the great tyrant Tyrion. That is why I write down my experience in this journal, so that it may help someone someday. Perhaps by recording the deeds of these great men and women, I can atone for some of the sins I have committed. I cannot guarantee that everything in this journal is accurate, but I can guarantee it is all as I saw it. I may embellish and omit at points, not to the detriment of the overall narrative. In the end, this is a story of an old man's glory days and hard times long past. While the world changes around me and war may erupt once more on the continent, I hope my journal may enlighten those who may fall under the sway of tyrants. They may win you over with pretty speeches and promises of glory, but in the end their promises amount to nothing, their glory not but a quick death. Know this, my friends, the first thing a tyrant will try to convince you is that it is brave and noble to die for one's kingdom. The second is that they, the tyrant, are the kingdom, and thus it is brave to die for them. I should probably add that. May I never live to see another war scar our lands, and may none of you be subjected to the unspeakable horrors of war. Imperial Legate Roy, commander of the 112th Imperial Legion, known by its title, the Emperor's Fist. And that's it. In future narrating these, I will endeavor to do a better job of it. This is the first video in this format, so I apologize for the lack of polish. This is more of like a test video to see how well this is received and if people will actually watch this. So, hopefully you all enjoyed it, and hopefully I gave you enough updates on stuff in the beginning. The only other thing I can think to say is this Wednesday is the next session that we're having, so hopefully the next video should be up by Friday, hopefully. I just tend to take like a day or two to edit stuff that I know needs to be edited, and I will usually allow a day or two where it's unlisted and shared only to my players so they can watch it, and then if they watch it, sometimes they're good about that, sometimes they're not. But basically it's so they can have a look at it before everyone else does and maybe spot an error I missed. One of the most common errors that I've had to re-edit videos and re-upload videos for is accidentally like showing people's names, like because Google Docs, if you exit like a PowerPoint, your name is going to appear right here. So that happened a lot with the lore videos. So those, well, not as popular as the actual campaign, are like somewhere between 2 and 4 times harder to edit. Because I need to make sure if I ever leave the presenter mode to edit out anything where I'm outside of presenter mode, because it will show Madeline's full name, because she is the editor of all the documents. I did this too soon, so she didn't have a chance to edit this. Hence why there is still spelling errors and lack of grammar. So basically, she's a lot better at that than I am. I just wanted to get this out. She's been busy the past few days, so figured it'd be better just to get it out and see how people respond to it. Well, hopefully you all enjoyed this. I think I have rambled on for enough, since this is going on about 30 minutes. Well, I think if I just did this, it probably wouldn't have been that long. But having a look at the map and talking about it a bit with some announcements that boosted the time, I basically, for transparency's sake, I was just trying to make this video at least like 15 minutes. So if we ever do get monetized, this video could be monetized too. So I feel like the lore videos and the videos like this are probably the ones that would most likely be monetized, as there's the least amount of profanity in these. Although, to be fair, I'm usually the one responsible for the majority of the profanity in our videos, so. Oh well. Alright. I like how it says last. Oh, wait, I did edit something 2 minutes ago, didn't I? Well, this might have shown my name. I don't really care too much. I might edit it out in a later date, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed writing this and having a look at the map again, so bye. I'm just trying to spell out bye with the mouse, if you can see. Yeah. Alright, bye. Have a nice day.